Salut tout le monde, aujourd'hui je vais vous apprendre à conjuguer des verbs en français. Okay, so if you don't know what that means, basically today I'm going to be showing you how to conjugate all the verbs other than irregular ones in the present tense in French. In another video I may cover some of the most common regular ones, but not today. Okay, so first, it's very important to learn the different types of verbs in French. At their most basic, there are three types of regular verbs in French. They are ER verbs, IR verbs, and RE verbs. The reason why they are called this is because each verb ends with one of these endings. For example, a regular verb may be jouer, which ends with ER, and that is the verb to play. Another example may be finir, which is the verb to finish, and obviously that ends in IR. With each type of verb, there is a different way to conjugate in each tense. In French, not only is the conjugation dependent on the tense of the verb, but also the pronoun that will come before it. These are the main types that you will need to know. I is je. The informal you is tu. He, she, or it is il, elle, and on. However, on may also be used in the same way that we might say you, as in you can do this at a certain place. It is the same way that an old-fashioned person may say one can do something. For we, it is nous. For the informal and plural you, it is vous. And for they, it is il or elle. It is dependent on the gender of the people. However, if it is a mixture of both females and males, it will be the il form. Even though in some of these categories there is 3 or 2 different pronouns that are in them, the conjugation stays the same because these are the categories that they are found in. And to make life easier, most of the time when you see a conjugation table, they will come in this order. Even though in this video I am covering the 3 different types of verbs, the most important one to learn is the ER verbs, especially for a beginner. You can actually go for quite a while without learning the conjugation for IR and RE verbs because they're simply not used very often, whereas ER verbs are the core of any French conversation, and it's extremely important that you learn them before you learn any of the others. In fact, it took me maybe 2 years of casual schooling to learn the others. Anyway, to start, we're going to choose a very regular verb, so jouer. To start to conjugate the verb, you need to get rid of the ending, so get it down to just joue. From here, we can add all the endings. So, for je, it is je joue. And it just has a single E. I'm going to be adding the thing that changes in blue. For tu, it is tu joues. Notice how even though it has an S on the end, the pronunciation doesn't change, and it's a very common mistake in beginners to want to say the S at the end of the word. Il, elle, on, joue. The ER verb not only is the most important, but it is actually the easiest to learn. It has very few changes that can be easily remembered. For example, je joue and il, elle, on joue is the exact same conjugation. Next, it is nous jouons. And it has an ONS at the end of the verb. For vous, it is jouez. And finally, it is il, elle, joue. Now, this is, again, one of the biggest pronunciation issues when people try to say jouin. It's incorrect, and the last two letters in Juan will always never be pronounced. So as you can see, it's quite a simple structure of how to remember them, and it's actually very easy to remember very quickly. Once you have mastered the conjugation of ER verbs, it's time to move on to RE verbs and IR verbs, which you might as well learn at the same time because they come up about the same amount of times. In my opinion, RE verbs are the next easiest, so that's why I'm going to choose to do them first. An example of an regular RE verb is attendre, which we can then take down to its stem, which is attendre. And attendre means to wait. So, to conjugate this verb, for je, it is je attends. But it has an S on the end. For tu, it is again tu attendre, which also has an S on the end. And for il, elle, on, it is il, elle, on attend. And this actually has no ending on it, it's just the stem. And then it is nous attendons. Then it is vous attendez. And finally, il, elle attendent. Which again has that funny ENT at the end. So as you can see, it's another very simple conjugation structure. Finally, we're going to move on to IR verbs, which in my opinion are the hardest, and for a long time I struggled with remembering the conjugation. So let's start by again taking it down to the root, which for finir is just fin. So for je, it is je finis. Which has an IS on the end. And for tu, it is tu finis, which also has an IS on the end. For il, elle, on, it is fini, which has a T on the end. And now, that bit so far is again quite easy to remember. However, it is the next bit that I found it quite difficult to do. So it is nous finissons. So it has fin is and it has an I and then a double S before the ONS regular ending. However, this is a regular pattern for finir verbs. However, the ONS can be found in many conjugations of nous. And then it is vous finissez. And then for il, elle, it is il finissait. The final topic that I'd like to touch on before ending this video is the best way to learn these conjugations because they can be really hard. In my opinion, the best way is just to learn them as lists, but also look for all the patterns. For example, with the nous endings, most of the time they end with O and S, or the il, elle, it's E and T. Because once you learn the patterns, it's so much easier for your brain to remember because it can think, oh, well, all the others end with O and S, so it's most likely going to end in O and S. But does it have anything else like it might have in finissons? So that's just my input. I really hope that you found some use out of this video and it's helped you in your French journey.